Off Thursday night with the Detroit Lions upsetting the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And today was the first full Sunday with 14 games. For a preview of what's on Instant Replay, here's our Larry Ramirez. A couple more updates today.
Yes, and that's why you're so happy, because NFL games that count.
That's right.
That's right.
Here.
Houston Texans open the DeMeco Ryans era at the Baltimore Ravens, coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
It wasn't what we wanted, and got to just be better overall. Myself, got to make more plays, got to check the football, hold the football, and really just get it out on time.
C.J. Stroud didn't have a bad game, but he could not produce a touchdown drive for the Texans, who dropped their season opener 25-9. C.J. didn't turn it over, which is good, but the Texans could not run the ball, and that was bad.
Our grit, put our greatness on display.
Jeff Traylor and his UTSA Roadrunners beat G.J. Kinney and his Texas State Bobcats 20-13. It was a tough game for both coaches because they go way back. Now, will quarterback Frank Harris, who left the postgame presser in a boot, will he be ready for Army Friday night? That's our poll question tonight. The Dallas Cowboys played at the New York Giants tonight to close out the first Sunday in the NFL season. Plus, we got the best of BGC Week 3, Nalissa Smith and the Indiana Fever, and a scholar athlete from Antonian. That and more tonight on Instant Replay.
Love the just faces in Tuscaloosa.
I know, right?
Stunned.
And a big smile over here.
Boo-hoo.
I can feel the heat from her smile over there. All right. Still ahead on the Nightbeat, history untold at Alamo Heights. How students that started school at Alamo Heights High School during integration are reflecting on their experience decades later.
In tonight's History Untold, the integration of one of the wealthiest school districts in San Antonio, as it still is now, the Alamo Heights Independent School District, was predominantly white when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled separate but equal was unconstitutional.
Jesse Degollado spoke to some of the district's first African-American students who say they weren't exactly welcomed with open arms.
A grandmother and a retired teacher and nurse, Judy Green has never forgotten her first day in 9th grade at Alamo Heights High School.
That first day was rough.
That's putting it mildly. Judy Green says the racist slurs she had to endure was not just kids being kids.
Didn't matter. They had been taught that black is dirty.
The U.S. Supreme Court had struck down separate but equal as unconstitutional in 1954. After that, Green says 8 in all integrated the Alamo Heights School District, and she still remembers.
Being harassed, followed down the hall, called colored, you colored, we don't want you colored here.
Yet decades later.
It's just traumatic. It's real, I didn't know what to do for anyone.
By the time Terrell Robinson graduated in 2002 as a young, openly gay African-American.
I got so much academically, but the price I had to pay was I'll never get that back. I'll never get that peace of mind.
Not surprising, say Everett Fly and Dr. Joseph Lambert, recognized as distinguished alumni of Alamo Heights High School. Fly, a respected landscape architect, awarded a National Humanities Medal by President Obama, knows firsthand what it was like.
It was made clear that people did not want to be seen with me. They didn't want to be in a picture with me because of my race.
When Lambert, a future research professor of chemistry, was a student at Alamo Heights.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for those kids to enter an all-white school.
That is until he saw John Henry Smith before he made the junior varsity football team. He was on a stairwell, looking lonely and lost.
But that one moment has carried with me all my life.
Fly says the district's reputation then haunts it even now.
And it's still strong enough to discourage people from wanting to live in the Alamo Heights School District, especially people of color.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Alamo Heights Independent School District says, quote, "It is horrible that any Alamo Heights ISD students at any time in our history would have had experiences like these. We empathize with their pain, and we deeply regret that they or any students had to experience such treatment. Racist treatment and harassment of any person at any time, anywhere, is never condoned. While we can't speak for the students of the past, we can assure you that today our campuses work intentionally to prevent those types of behaviors. Racist treatment and harassment is prohibited and should be reported to school administrators and will be responded to accordingly." End quote. Jesse Degollado, KSAT12 News.
And you can read the district's full response to this story right now on our website at KSAT.com.
Well, we are learning new details about a statewide hunt for an escaped prisoner in Pennsylvania. Danilo Cavalcante has been on the loose since breaking out of a Pennsylvania state prison back on August 31st. Police say doorbell cameras captured him last night at the home of an old coworker about 25 miles away from the prison he escaped from. That means he was able to slip out of the perimeter police set up around that prison. Despite days of frustrations, police are defending their efforts to find him.
No perimeter is 100% secure, ever. We did a very good job, and I will tell you, I applaud the men and women who were out there standing in some very difficult conditions and trying to secure that perimeter. I'm not going to make an excuse to you. I wish it had not happened.
Police say Cavalcante has changed his appearance and is now clean-shaven. Investigators say he's stolen at least one vehicle, and police are urging nearby residents to make sure their homes and vehicles are locked.
President Biden traveling to Vietnam following the two-day G20 summit in New Delhi, India. During his visit to Hanoi, the president meeting with the Vietnamese leader. ABC's Lama Hassan has the details behind the Paris new cooperation agreement.
President Biden arriving in Hanoi on Sunday, where he met with Vietnamese General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong. The U.S. and Vietnam, former wartime enemies, diplomatic relations between the two countries weren't established until 1995. Now, Vietnam elevating the U.S. to the highest diplomatic status that Vietnam has only given to a small handful of countries. The two leaders announcing new partnerships in education, technology, and business aimed at countering China's influence. The president says his goal is to provide stability by building U.S. ties with Vietnam and other Asian countries.
We have an opportunity to strengthen alliances around the world to maintain stability. It's not about containing China. It's about having a stable base in the Indo-Pacific.
Despite the friendly meeting between the two, there was tension as Vietnamese officials reportedly tried to interfere with the American press. Vietnam is a one-party communist state. The Biden administration has faced some criticism from human rights advocates for getting closer to a government that continues to crack down on dissent. President Biden says he brought up this issue with the country's leader.
I also raised the importance of respect for human rights as a priority for both my administration and the American people.
Vietnam has for years had close ties to China and Russia. The president said on Sunday that he met with Chinese Premier Li Qiang during the G20 summit in India, saying they talked about stability as their two countries continue to clash on a range of global issues.
We wasn't confrontational at all.
Lama Hassan, ABC News, London.
All right, the National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Lee has weakened to a Category 3, but they don't expect that to last long. The National Hurricane Center forecasting Lee could regain Category 4 strength as early as tomorrow.
It is still too early to know how significant the hurricane's impact will be for the northeastern U.S. and Canada. But for now, the East Coast will be experiencing large swells and rip currents through the week. And Sarah, we know that you've been following this as well.
Here's the real expert on
That's
this.
exactly. Hey, you guys.
Leave it to the expert.
That was
Just
from the
reading the
National
words.
Hurricane Center. That's accurate.
Okay, good. Woo!
But yeah, today, September 10th, marks the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. It's after today that we gradually start to see activity in general start to die down. So here's where Hurricane Lee is right now. Category 3 hurricane to the northeast of San Juan. It is expected to strengthen over the next couple of days, but then as it heads into the cooler waters near Bermuda, it'll weaken to a Category 1 hurricane. Now the shift for Lee has been a little bit more to the west. Right now, areas along the coast expected to have some strong swells and rip currents, but we'll be watching to see if it can make landfall in parts of Canada there. Here's what we're tracking in the forecast. Only isolated rain this week. A weak front moving through tomorrow, Tuesday, so not as hot in the week ahead, and we'll have slightly better rain chances by the weekend. These details ahead and how much water fell on the aquifer, I'll show you coming up.
All right, we'll see you then, Sarah. Historic temps and a years-long drought is making ranchers' jobs even harder than ever. how the rising price of hay could lead to even more problems as we near the colder part of the year when we come back. This summer's historic temps, coupled with the current drought, are hitting ranchers pretty hard. It's driving the cost of hay bales through the roof. RJ Marquez reports it could lead to even more problems for livestock in South Texas ranches this winter.
The hay market is taking a major hit this summer.
Supply is very low and our demand is fairly high because the majority of the state of Texas is in some level of drought.
The lack of production is leaving suppliers and livestock owners scrambling for options.
Producers look to alternatives. So crop residues, other crops that can potentially be harvested for hay. Often producers look for hay supplies outside of our state to have them shipped in or trucked in, which can become very expensive.
Carl Chapman has owned Boverde Feed and Seed for more than 30 years. He says it's been a rough 2-year stretch.
This year and last year are bad. Hopefully we can get some rain this fall and in the springtime.
Well, the price for a round bale of hay just like this has definitely spiked up. So Carl tells us that for a round bale like this, right now he's selling it at about $140. Last year it was even worse, about $160. He says on a good year, it would be closer to about $120.
Feed expenses has gone up completely, probably about 40% just because of the drought.
Jose Martinez owns 4 horses. A few months ago, he was getting round bales for about $100.
Can you imagine if you own stables or if you have cattle, it impacts much more.
People may have to sell their livestock or reduce their herd size.
And with fall and winter getting closer, Korher Olsen says producers and buyers need to take advantage of any rain we get because supply is expected to stay limited.
Build up those hay stocks and store that hay appropriately within a barn or covered shelter to protect it.
There's always ups and downs, but we're fortunate. We've got good people and they've been loyal to us, so that helps.
RJ Marquez, KSAT 12 News.
So I think something's exciting is that even if it's 98, it is not 100.
Yes. Positive thinking.
It makes a big difference, I feel like.
It absolutely does. And this week, it's actually going to be difficult for us to hit 100. That's the first time I've said that sentence in like a month in San Antonio. So take a look at the highs today, though. We did reach 100 degrees in San Antonio. It was 105 in Del Rio, 100 in Carrizo Springs, 99 in Kerrville, 103 in New Braunfels, 101 in Gonzales. You know how I forecast isolated rain today? Well, this is what I mean. You know, around San Antonio, you looked off to the west and you could see some storms out there. They were just too far west of San Antonio to bring us any rain in the Alamo City. However, a lot of rain fell in pockets west of San Antonio, right on the contributing zone and the recharge zone of the aquifer. So even though in San Antonio we did not see any rain, rain falling on these areas is actually quite beneficial because we can see that go back into the aquifer. You can see that some areas got pockets of up to 3 inches of rain nearer to Kerrville and, nearer to Mountain Home and Rock Springs. And then around Bandera County, northern Medina County, we saw pockets of 2 inches of rainfall right on that contributing zone and the recharge zone for the aquifer. Take a look at the forecast for tomorrow in your KSAT 12-hour forecast. Waking up at 74 degrees early in the morning. It's going to be 83 by 10 and mostly sunny. Noon, mostly sunny and 90. And for the afternoon high today, 98, forecasting below 100 degrees for the first time in a while. And there's a small 10% chance for a stray shower, but not nearly as good of a chance as what we saw today for those west of San Antonio. 101 in Del Rio. Tomorrow, 98 in Uvalde, 95 in Kerrville, 97 in Canyon Lake, and 99 in Pleasanton. Neighborhoods around San Antonio, 95 in Kerrville and Comfort, 94 in Burning and Bulverde, 95 in Helotes, 97 in Converse, 98 in Seguin, 99 in Floresville, and 99 in Pleasanton. All right, our weather setup shows that heat high has moved enough off to the west and weakened substantially. That's allowed for us to see those isolated showers and storms along that northerly flow in parts of the Panhandle, getting some severe weather tonight. And then to the north across the Central Plains, there's a cool front. This cool front is going to be moving through on Tuesday, and it will be dropping our temperatures into the low 90s. Also, as this front moves through, it's it's important to note that the areas that are expected to get the most rain from this front are from San Angelo to Dallas. Take a look at the futurecast. This is tomorrow, right around midnight as we head into Tuesday. You can see San Angelo to Dallas as that front moves through those areas. That's where it'll kick up some rain. A lot of this rain is going to fizzle out before it even makes it to San Antonio in the overnight hours. So that's why our rain chances in San Antonio are pretty low, although we do have slightly better rain chances early Tuesday morning for the hill country. So when you look at storm chances over the next few days, nothing to get too excited about, all right? Only a 20% chance for an isolated shower storm Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We do have slightly better rain chances Friday through Sunday. I'm cautiously optimistic that we may be able to bump up those rain chances a little bit as we get closer to the weekend. But right now, just want to manage expectations and focus on the positive. Highs are only going to be in the mid to upper 90s rather than in the triple digits, and that is good news.
60s and 40s where I'm going.
Where are you going?
Why don't he brag about it? He's going home to Ohio for a visit.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Okay.
Jealous.
Talk about the movies. Talk about the movies.
Okay. 3 new movies debuted in the top 5 at the box office this weekend. How did they fare against Barbenheimer? Those results next on the Nightbeat.
Barbie tumbled from second place down to fifth this weekend on ticket sales of $5.9 million. Barbie has already cemented its place as the biggest movie of the year so far, with a domestic total of just over $620 million. Hindi language action thriller Jawan debuted in fourth place with $6.2 million.
You are the Portocalos family.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 debuted at number 3 with a $10 million opening. The original movie opened back in 2002 with just under $600,000, while the sequel bowed in 2016 with over $17 million.
Your man to my left finger on the trigger, but he's a foot too close.
The Equalizer 3 slipped from first place to second with $12.1 million, bringing its 2-week total to $61.8 million.
Sister Irene?
Your Eminence.
The Nun 2 scared off its competition in a #1 debut. The latest movie in the Conjuring universe bowed with $32.6 million. The first Nun movie opened in 2018 with over $53 million. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
That's scary. Courtney doesn't like scary.
Yeah, I closed my eyes a lot. I didn't know they didn't have the demon in their face or anything.
You know what's not scary? The Dallas Cowboys. They open up their regular season tonight at the New York Giants. A classic NFC East matchup right out of the gate.
Not bad. And when week 3 of big game coverage saw a lot of good games and some pretty sweet plays. For a preview of what's on Instant Replay, Larry Ramirez.
You know, I'm already planning for week 4. This football season is flying by so quickly. Now that week 3 is wrapped up, we have a brand new best of big game coverage coming up tonight on Instant Replay. Week 3 was a lot of fun and it gave us a lot of great plays to choose from. Tonight we've got best fans, best pass, best run, best play, and best game from week 3 of big game coverage. Plus, we've got a brand new 12's Top 12 in Class 6A, 5A, and Sub 5A with a handful of new teams getting in.
On third down, Smith, pressure comes late and it's incomplete. That pressure coming from Aaron Donald.
That's funny. A hot mic catch a Seattle QB Geno Smith's scared reaction when Rams star defender Aaron Donald runs full speed right at him. I mean, that's 280 pounds of nasty, so you really can't blame Geno, right? We've got your NFL highlights and our San Antonio connections to the NFL. Plus, we've also got the Houston Texans, local WNBA star Nalissa Smith, and a trick play in football makes our Sierra Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram play of the week. All that coming up right after the Nightbeat.
All the sports coming our way.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Larry.
We'll be right back.